Chris, where do we start in the production of a carabiner?
Okay, right. Well, we've been around the plant, haven't we? So this should now make sense. You saw that in 3 or 4 metre lengths. This is the extruded 70-75 aluminium, which is like an aircraft, a standard alloy, and we use that because it's got all the characteristics that you want. It's got great ductility. You'll see from your filming that carabiners stretch a lot when under load and when they bend. We'll buy this from within the European Union. This is our lifeblood, if you like, 11mm round bar extruded aluminium. And when that arrives here, it doesn't get through the door of the factory until we've done certain tests on it. We'll do a visual inspection of a certain number of bars to make sure that the surface finish is okay. We'll do a hardness test to make sure it's of the hardness, or it's in the state that they say it's in. Just doing a hardness test, so it's basically this is a ball bearing which presses into the surface and gives you a readout. And we'll check obviously all the paperwork and the chemical composition. Obviously they've got to be exactly the right length, otherwise they won't bend and form in the right shapes. So they'll be made, like I say, in a batch of between probably 600 to 850 in a batch. We'll then anneal them, which is basically cooking them and letting them cool by themselves so they're soft, so we can actually then bend it to the basic shape. And then all our snap gates and all our screw gates bar one are hot forged. Hot forging is turning that into that. As you can see, we've moved a huge amount of metal around. That's one of the key things, the differences between cold forging and hot forging, about which there's a lot of talk. But really, you can't do the intricate shapes that you can with hot forging with cold forging.
Right.
So all that detail is done with one blow of several hundred tons. And the ideal thing is to take metal away from where you don't want it and put it where you do want it. So most of our latest carabiners are all one forge and then one clip operation. So that's a very efficient way of doing it. To get rid of the excess, which is called the flash, we'll put it on another clipping press and just clip it off. So that flash gets taken off, and then you've got the basic shape of the carabiner.
What happens to the flashing on the flashing stuff?
We have a contract with a local scrap merchant basically, and that gets recycled.
Right.
What we're actually going to do is we're looking at a recycling scheme for carabiners, not just DMM carabiners,
right,
but for any carabiners. Next thing is really, I can't show it you, but it is the most important part of the process. That's the heat treatment. If we pull tested that now, it would probably break with the gate open at about 4.5 kilonewtons, which is no good. So it's basically almost half the strength if you don't heat treat it. And the heat treatment is cooking. Two sets of cooking. The first part is solution treatment, where you heat the batch of carabiners up to a known temperature for a specific period of time, hold it at that temperature, and then at the end of that time you quench it in water. Once you've quenched it in water, you're actually retaining the characteristics that you need for the second part of the process, which is artificial aging. We've got a cookbook which will have a time and a temperature for every single piece of aluminium that we use in the production of climbing equipment. It's still got lots of sharp edges on it, so we'll actually, what they call vibrate it. Basically, it just shakes around in there for probably 24 hours. Smooths all the sharp edges off, makes it lovely and smooth and round. And after that, you'll be then ready for drilling, where you're going to drill the hole for the hinge. Right. In the case of a standard gate, it's one hole. Wire gates, obviously 2 holes. And then it will go away for anodising. But we don't do that on site. We do that's done in Bury, Lancashire. Yeah, and it will come back from there anodised, ready for assembly. But again, it won't get through the door of the stores until it's been 100% inspected, to make sure that the anodising is correct, and also for structural things. Sometimes the anodising will show up defects that you can't see before it's anodised. David will do that. As you'll gather, there's a lot of checking going on all the way around, and the result of that is that you don't get to the end and then find that you've got something that won't fit or isn't fit for purpose. Then it gets, where are we now?
I think we're at assembly.
The gates, got all sorts of different gates, depending on which gate is required. The bits will get issued out, they'll get assembled and then rectified, and the rectifying is the process you saw where the guys are actually just tweaking the gate,
Right.
so they actually work really, really smoothly.
So
Every single one,
many
individually handled many times. The rectification isn't final inspection.
Right.
That is the last frontier.
That's-
Right? Where again, it's 100% inspection.
They've got CE markings on, haven't they? What's that?
It means basically that it passes a certain standard. Every single bit of climbing equipment that comes under the Directive for Personal Protective Equipment, PPE, has to pass the standard. The standards for carabiners, for protection,
Right.
for ice axes, whatever. We see that really as a guideline. It's you could do the bare minimum and pass the standard,
Right.
or you could actually say, right, this is what we feel we should try and achieve. Yeah, Three Sigma testing is really just a mathematical formula you can apply to any set of results. Three Sigma gives you a figure that is 99.97% certain.
Will be at that strength in that
they will
particular
exceed
batch.
that. Yeah. What we do is we batch test, so we sample. So we'll test 3 and 500, 5 and 1,000, and so on. Gate open, gate closed.
On the testing rig.
On the testing rig.
Right.
Destruction test.
Right.
You then take your results, you apply the Three Sigma formula,
Right.
and then the figure that you get, say you get 9.8, you'll actually quite happily rate those carabiners at 9 kilograms.
But you don't have to do that.
You don't have to, no. But we were the first manufacturer climbing equipment that used Three Sigma.